From the Ticats Audio Network, this is the Ticats This Week with RJ Broadhead and Luke Tasker.
Welcome to Ticats This Week. I'm the voice of the Ticats, RJ Broadhead, and with me is the color commentator, former CFL All-Star Luke Tasker. Game 2 of the season. It's the home opener for the Tiger Cats. It's exciting. Coach O is going to be part of the inductees into the CFL Hall of Fame. So he always talks about distractions and everything. You kind of get the feeling that he's so mentally strong it won't be a distraction, but a tremendous honor for him. Well-deserved. 0-1 for the Tiger Cats, and they take on the 1-0 Calgary Stampeders, Luke. Now that you've had a few days to digest what happened last Saturday, are you concerned at all with what you saw from the Tiger Cats a week ago?
No, not concerned and not surprised. It's hard, like we've said for a week of content on the Ticats Audio Network. It is hard to go out west and win, and a lot of the fixes, in my opinion, are just early season sort of get the rust off, and sort of simple repairs to make. For instance, and specifically in the turnovers that happened out in Saskatchewan, and I think that we'll see an emphasis on that ball security, and I expect to see Dane Evans specifically with the mindset of protecting the football, and that fix alone is plenty to change the course of a game. So I think we're going to see a much better, more cohesive Ticats in this week too. Some injuries going around, and that'll throw some adversity, and so that's sort of the unknown to me, is how those are going to affect the course of this game. Well,
I'm going to ask you specifically about some injuries coming up, Luke. So don't cover everything right off the top.
We're sprinting right through our list here. No, but I do think some of the technical corrections, some of the misses in the game offensively and defensively, I think those are the things we're going to see tighten up, and then honestly, RJ, I would love to see a productive first quarter. The Ticats had such a horrendous start of that game with a near turnover followed by a turnover in their own end, and it's hard. It's hard to claw back into it after that. That's what I'll be watching for tomorrow night.
A lot of 2-and-outs. They had trouble moving the football. The great play to Stephen Dunbar Jr., just a beautiful touchdown, perfect pass by Dane. You touched on it, and we think it's easy to just see a football team and see athletes and professional players who are supposed to put every distraction behind them and go out and play. You talked about the turnovers. Dane had a couple of fumbles, a couple of interceptions. Again, the offense didn't seem to be clicking, especially until that Stephen Dunbar play. Trouble running the ball. But you're a father. You have 3 boys, Luke. Dane Evans, congratulations. He has his first child, baby girl. But the due date was actually the game day against the Riders. So, there was some question of, and we didn't know until after the fact. Dane talked about it in practice that, he didn't know if he was going to play in the game. So he had a lot of other things on his mind, and not to make excuses, but maybe just as a father, Luke, just say how tough is that to go into a game? It's first game of the year. You're about to be a father for the first time in your life. You don't know when that call's coming. That was a lot on Dane's plate for game 1.
Yep, it's a lot, and I'm sure that, and I mean, everyone who's from the outsiders to inside of the locker room, and certainly in Dane's family, is happy just for health and well-being in that situation. And yeah, surely that's tough. And I remember, I can think back to guys, to teammates who had all sorts of things going on, off the field and sort of in privacy that nobody else would ever know about. And sometimes it's something that's happy, and sometimes, like the birth of a child, which is equally as stressful. But then there's also times where guys, I remember teammates going through some really hard things, family loss, and things going back, some guys in the States having issues that they couldn't, communicate properly or be in touch with their families. And boy, we're all human, and everybody has some off the field things that certainly can affect, play on the field. I remember I remember my wife calling me before practice in my last season, and I'm thinking, I knew she had an ultrasound, and I'm thinking, oh no, she knows I'm at practice. This can't be good. She called me to tell me we were having
Oh,
twins,
yeah.
and which we neither of us knew about. And then, going on the field, and of course that's good news, but I was equally as distracted for that practice. I can tell you. But yeah, I mean, all sorts of crazy things going on in life, and just happy that things have gone well for Dane and his wife.
Absolutely, and think back to that game. He was the player that spoke to us in the post game show and basically put everything on his shoulders. You just have to love Dane Evans. He missed a couple of days of practice, but he's there. Everything should be a go for Saturday for Dane. I fully expect to see much better offense from the Tiger Cats. Tim Hortons Field will have a bit of an impact, but you look at so many of those issues. The defense didn't get enough pressure on Cody Fajardo. 8 sacks against, that's way too many. They have to convert on second downs. Defense has been on the field too long, and that's continued through the preseason as well, where the time of possession, the opposition has been able to trump the Tiger Cats in every game, including the preseason. So much to work on, and now you have a couple of injuries on the offensive line, and Brandon Revenberg and Chris Van Zyl will be the only two in their regular positions. Tyrone Riley will be at left tackle, first ever CFL game. Travis Vorncall, he seems to be able to move all over that offensive line. He'll be at right guard. And Jesse Gibbon moves to center with Alex Fontana injured. So, not protecting the quarterback, only 26 rushing yards, and now these injuries and a lot of changes on the offensive line. What are your feelings with that situation going into Saturday's game?
It is a tough one, and it's going to be a question mark and something that you and I will surely have our eyes on and be addressing as the game progresses. Specific to Gibbons and Fontana, it's that position of center. Generally or historically, that's sort of the call maker for the offensive line. I remember situations where if there was some adversity there and there was a young guy in, one of those veterans like Revenberg at guard or Zyl, although it's tough from the outside at the tackle position, but those guys can sort of at least help, or in some cases take over the calling of protections and identifying the fronts and the players there. That'll be tough. I would expect maybe some simplicity in there. It depends on the trust. Tommy Condell is a guy, you gotta, he says you gotta put drops into the trust jar, and you can't fill it up with a hose. It takes time, and it takes continued execution throughout a season and throughout a career to continue to fill up your jar so that you are a trustworthy player. And so it's hard for a young guy. There's a lot of things to learn, and hopefully there's some ability for guys like Revenberg to handle some of that workload at the center position. It'll be interesting. It is a challenge, and the combination in that week 1 game in Saskatchewan, the combination of turning the ball over 5 times and 8 sacks. Not a winning recipe. Very, very difficult to win that game, no matter how your defense plays. So you're not going to be perfect, but both of those categories, the Ticats have to see a better stat line in both of those places.
So the turnovers and the sacks allowed, correct me if I'm wrong, but those are fixable issues, aren't they?
To me specifically, I think we mentioned this at the end of the broadcast of the week 1. Those turnovers, especially the fumbles in the backfield, those are the fixable errors. It's a very slight correction, even just in the hands of the quarterback, and I'm not saying that doesn't fix the sack issue, but to turn one of those into a sack is a bonus, because then you get to punt the ball, right? If you can correct those, I think that is football. It's hard to use the word easy, but that is a manageable fix to make. Now the interceptions, a little more complex, right? There's moving pieces there. We're never, sometimes you can blatantly tell, but a lot of times we're not going to be privy to who actually made the error. A receiver can be responsible for an interception. when it comes down to it, it's the quarterbacks that get blamed. And I'm talking inside the locker room too. That's sort of the demeanor of a football player. Like you put it on yourself. But we can be responsible, we meaning receivers. I still put myself in that we category, RJ.
You might come back. You're still young enough. You could do it.
So we can also be responsible for interceptions, and all that to say, it's a little bit more complex, but still fixable. So that goes into that category. In that, in the sacks against, tons of moving pieces, and that is one of those places you're not gonna be perfect all the time, right? It's great if you can go 0 sacks in a game. It's rarely going to happen. You're trying to eliminate as many of those as you can, and sometimes it's as simple as a guy taking that first step in the wrong direction off the line, and sometimes it's a little bit more complex. You can lose a one-on-one battle without making a mental error.
Looking at some of the statistics going into this game, Ticats fans should not be concerned with the game 1 loss. Historically, over the last, 17 years, Ticats are 2-15 or something like that in first games. So, and they've been excellent in the second half of seasons. So, a game 1 loss, it's a learning opportunity. You can watch a lot of the Coach O comments and the players on Ticats.ca, but there's zero panic from the team. Rough Riders played a good game. Their defense was fantastic. So it's one of those where I think the Tiger Cats will learn a lot. Another topic that seems to not really go away are these fourth quarters for the Tiger Cats. They were within 2 points of the Rough Riders, and then the Riders got those 2 touchdowns in 20 seconds, which might be a record. I think the CFL statisticians are looking into that to see if it is by one team for 2 fastest touchdowns. So let's hope it's not. Ticats don't need to be in the record book on that one. But the fourth quarter, Riders pulled away. And you look at the Calgary Stampeders who are coming to town, and they really didn't have much going until the second half. They outscored Montreal in their first game 16-3 in the second half and 10-3 in the fourth quarter. So it's the absolute reverse, the reverse of what the Tiger Cats are doing in the fourth quarter. Calgary seems to get better. So, again, we're going to see a test. And the players, Tunde Adeleke talked about it. They know that they're having trouble closing out games. How do you change that? It's a little bit frustrating for players because it can't be a conditioning thing. Why do you think they don't seem to do well in the fourth quarter?
I'm hesitant to say it can't be. That there may be a part of that conditioning. I mean, and we addressed it last week. That I remember, especially in parts of your career where you're not playing much preseason. You don't have a lot of snaps or a lot of reps preseason. 4 quarters is it's a long game, and can be in great shape in terms of your burst and your strength and your kind of what you do in that off season, but for 3 hours and 4 quarters of football you got to be ready for that. But, I hesitate because I don't want to oversimplify this, but I think it kind of goes back to your like the best defense is a great offense and the best offense is a great defense. I think it's kind of about stepping on the gas. I think sometimes, and especially last year when you and I were talking about this throughout the season and poor fourth quarters, the CFL is beautiful because of it's a scoring friendly league, right? We've seen timeless times where a pass interference late continues a drive, right? And it's really not even, it's like a 50-50 ball, if that, but if you draw the pass interference, you keep a drive going. Once a team is playing 3-down football, well, it's much easier to get first downs when you're decided to not punt. And I think there's a bit of that, but like last week, it's not that the Ticats had the lead and Sask was going, was throwing caution to the wind and sort of in Hail Mary mode. But I do think that the mindset of keeping your foot on the gas, being aggressive with play calling, there was a few times where I thought Sask surprised the Ticats with a blitz and cover zero that sort of threw or stalled a drive. And to be fair, it was the other way as well. Mark Washington's defense had a few moments where you could tell that Cody Fajardo and his offense with the Rough Riders got stalled by throwing a cover zero at him. Aggressive play, I think it comes down to anytime. It's such an aggressive sport. You have to be so crisp in your execution. I think you have to keep that mindset of go in the fourth quarter. And if you hesitate, if you start to get a little bit of sort of that balancing, like let's just not mess up, man, the teams are too good in this league. It's too competitive of a game. I think you can really hurt yourself with that mindset.
A story back to last year, it was late in the year, and Dylan Nguyen wasn't playing just because, rest up for the playoffs. And I remember talking to the radio team who visited Tim Hortons Field, and they were saying they were upset that Dylan Nguyen wasn't going to play because they were excited to see him play. You don't hear that from fans very often about a defensive lineman. Unfortunately, he's going to be out on Saturday, and you can't replace Dylan Nguyen. But what impact do you think that's going to have? Because Bo Levi Mitchell or Jake Mayer, the Calgary quarterbacks, you have to get pressure on them, and Dylan Nguyen is a key guy in getting that pressure on the quarterbacks.
You know what I think of Dylan Nguyen, man. He's my guy, and I absolutely love the way that he plays, but also the way he approaches the game. He is so healthy for a team, in my opinion. Locker room, before a game, his energy, his attitude, he buys in, but he buys into the city, buys into the culture and to the coach's sort of mentality. The good thing about that is a lot of those things I just said are off the field, are stuff that he'll still offer even as having to sit out the game. But but on the field, you're going to feel that loss. You really are. It'll be interesting. You do have Ted Laurent that they can kind of use kind of wherever they want to in there.
And Lee Autry's coming in and on the line as well, so he's going to get an
exactly.
opportunity.
And you've got guys who are going to have to just step up. I mean, anytime you lose one of your outstanding guys on either side of the ball, you just hope that you can have that next man mentality. But that phrase gets thrown around maybe a little bit more than teams are often prepared for it, right? I mean, to lose one of your best is to lose one of your best. So I doubt that we'll make it through the game without addressing that as well, RJ.
Yeah, it's all things we'll be keeping an eye on. A couple of Canadian running backs in for the Tiger Cats with Sean Thomas Erlington, Malik Irons. There will be no Don Jackson. He didn't have a great game against the Riders, but got a little banged up. So, we'll see if the Tiger Cats can run the ball. There's no doubt West was best in week one. Home teams won every game. So the Tiger Cats really haven't lost a lot of ground. That's the silver lining here, that they're still in good shape. It was a close game until late in the fourth quarter. Calgary coming to Tim Hortons Field. Ticats have won the last two meetings against the Stampeders. Your thoughts going into the game? What are you expecting?
I do think we're going to see a Ticat win. I really do. Sometimes I remember in my career coming that feeling of a loss like that, being like, not really even heartbroken, just being like, oh, we played so bad, we were lucky to be in it. And I'm thinking back to some offensive performances where it feels like, boy, I'm not even gonna feel bad about it because that's not us. Like, I just know that that's not us. And then it's different than those games where you throw for 380 and you have three players have a receiving touchdown and your defense plays well and you lost, and it's like, man, what else are we supposed to do if that doesn't get us a win? Well, that's not the situation, and the Ticats are in a place where they can sort of just redefine it, draw a line in the sand, and say, that's not the way to be. We know what we need to do. We can't turn the ball over. We can't give up 8 sacks. We have to limit the explosive plays, and let's finish this game very, very well. I think they're in a great position to get a win here. The Stampeders, was a good performance. It was a good home win. Like you said, they finished that game very well. And I remember games out in Calgary specifically, thinking back, and as I'm thinking back to the film there with the Alouettes, and that's a hard place to play too. And Calgary does finish games well at home, but Tim Hortons Field Saturday night, it's just going to be a great atmosphere and a great opportunity for the Ticats to get things on track.
Yeah, no opposition team looks forward to coming to Tim Hortons Field. Tiger Cats have been so great. Fans have been so great. We are looking forward to the home opener on Saturday. Kickoff is at 6:30 Eastern Time. Luke and I will have the call. Calgary Stampeders, Tim Hortons Field to take on the Tiger Cats. Will it be win number 1 of many for the Tiger Cats? We'll find out in a little while. We'll talk to you on Saturday, game time across the Ticats Audio Network.
It's been another busy week for your Hamilton Tiger Cats. Luke Tasker and RJ Broadhead have covered it all, and now we would like to hear from you. Email us anytime at gameday@ticats.ca. Subscribe to the Ticats Audio Network on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.